The first time Karen told me to move my window seat, I thought she was joking. It was a calm Saturday morning. I was tightening the hinges on that bay window. I'd just refinished the one that overlooked the neighborhood pond. I heard the crunch of heels on gravel before I saw her reflection in the glass. Pastel cardigan, clipboard, sunglasses that screamed authority. "Mr. Walker," she called, voice sharp as the edge of her pen. "That new seat violates HOA sightline regulations. You'll need to remove it immediately." I turned, still holding my screwdriver. Sightline regulations? For a window inside my house? She didn't flinch. "It affects exterior uniformity. From the path it looks obtrusive, distracting. We have standards here." The standards she meant were hers. Karen Holloway, HOA president for 6 years, self-appointed guardian of symmetry and silence, the kind of person who measured grass height with a ruler. I smiled politely. "I'll review the bylaws, Karen. If it's an issue, I'll handle it." Her lips tightened. "Oh, I've already reviewed them. I wrote them." Then she clicked her pen, jotted something on her clipboard, and walked off like a sheriff writing a ticket. That was the moment I realized she wasn't going to stop by Monday morning. I had 3 violation notices taped to my door. Unauthorized architectural modification, visual, inconsistency with neighboring properties, obstruction of pond view. The window seat had become a neighborhood scandal. Neighbors stopped to whisper. Karen stood at the curb every afternoon, pretending to check her mail while snapping photos of my front facade. Even my mail carrier started asking, "She got it out for you, or what?" I thought about ignoring her. But when she ordered a contractor to measure my window while I was at work, without my permission, I drew the line. I went to the HOA office. Tiny room, walls lined with dusty binders. The manager, a soft-spoken guy named Leon, looked apologetic when I showed up. "She's very hands-on," he admitted, choosing his words carefully. "But technically, interior modifications aren't within HOA jurisdiction." "Then why am I getting violation letters?" Leon sighed. "Because she signs them before they reach legal review." That's when I asked for a copy of the bylaws. The whole document, every section, every clause. Leon hesitated but printed them out. I thanked him and spent that night reading every page. By midnight, I found it. Section 4.2.3, Exterior Modifications. It clearly stated, "Interior elements visible from public view are exempt unless they alter structural integrity or exterior design." In short, my window seat was legal. I could have just waved that at her, but something told me to hold back. Karen wasn't after compliance. She was after control. And the best way to deal with someone who thrives on power is to let them overplay their hand. 2 days later, I installed a small doorbell camera angled toward the street and a motion sensor inside the bay window. Not for security, but for documentation. Sure enough, by Thursday evening, she was back, clipboard in hand. This time, she didn't stay on the sidewalk. She walked right up to my house, cupped her hands on the glass, and peered inside. The motion light flicked on. She froze like a raccoon caught in a beam. The next morning, another notice appeared. "Window seating violates privacy expectations of adjoining properties. Immediate removal required." Privacy expectations. That one almost made me laugh. I drafted an email, polite, factual, bullet-pointed, attaching photos from my doorbell cam and a highlighted copy of the bylaw. I CC'd Leon and 2 board members. Then I ended it with a single line. "Further unannounced visits will be considered trespassing and documented accordingly." For the first time. Karen didn't reply. But I wasn't done. I knew people like her didn't retreat, they regrouped. And if she'd already sent a contractor once, she'd do it again. So I started building my case. One timestamp at a time. I set up a hidden interior camera facing the window and backed up all footage to the cloud. Every photo she took from the curb, every letter she taped, every time she stepped within the property line, logged and labeled. By the end of the week, I had a file named Karen Evidence, Phase 1, and something told me I'd be needing Phase 2. It was just past 7 a.m. when my phone pinged with a motion alert. Doorbell cam front yard. I checked the feed half awake and saw him. A man in a neon vest crouching near my front shrubs. Measuring tape stretched across the dirt. And right beside him, Karen, holding a clipboard like it was the Holy Grail. I watched her point toward my bay window, lips moving fast. The contractor nodded, hammered a small wooden stake into my flower bed, then packed up and left. The footage time-stamped, 7 hours, 13 minutes, and 42 seconds a.m. That was my property line, not hers. I slipped on boots and went outside, phone recording in hand. The wooden stake sat just 6 inches inside my survey markers. 6 inches might sound petty, but to Karen, 6 inches was leverage. I knocked on her door. She answered instantly, like she'd been waiting. "Morning, Karen. You had someone measuring my yard again." She adjusted her cardigan. "Routine HOA inspection. Your new structure's location needs documentation. Structure." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean the bench inside my window?" Her smile tightened. "It projects too far outward. You've altered the footprint of the home. Then maybe you should double-check the plat map." I kept my voice even. "Because your inspection crossed my boundary line." Karen laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "Oh, Mr. Walker. We'll see what the survey says." Perfect. I wanted her to say that evening. I pulled my property file from storage closing documents. Original survey plat, even the geolocation pins from the county's GIS site. Lot number 27. Boundary confirmed. I compared her new stake position against it. Her line ran 6 inches inside mine. Most people would have called a lawyer right away. I decided to let her dig her own hole first. I called a licensed surveyor, a guy named Ethan Miles, who'd done work for several homeowners in our area. Calm, professional, old-school. He showed up 2 days later with a tablet, a drone, and a roll of neon flags. We spent an hour walking the lot. He confirmed it right there on camera. "Your original boundary pins are correct, Ryan. Whoever moved these stakes, that's encroachment, and they're clearly new." He handed me his business card. "Want the full survey certified?" "Absolutely," I said. "And can you add a time-stamped drone photo of each corner?" He grinned. "You're building a case, huh? Just making sure the facts don't move 6 inches at a time." The next morning, Karen struck again. This time, she sent an official-looking cease and remove notice, typed letterhead. Signature at the bottom, stamped HOA Enforcement Division. Except there was no such division. I checked. I compared the footer of her letter against legitimate HOA correspondence Leon had sent earlier. Different font, different legal disclaimer, even a mismatched P.O. box. She'd fabricated an official document. That was the line she shouldn't have crossed. I scanned the letter, attached my video footage, Ethan's preliminary survey, and a snippet of the HOA bylaws, referencing authority scope. Then I emailed everything directly to the HOA's legal counselor woman named Andrea Cho, known for not suffering fools lightly. Andrea replied within 6 hours. "Thank you for the documentation. The board will review this immediately. Please refrain from responding to further communications from Ms. Halloway until we reach a determination." That sounded like code for, "she's in trouble." By week's end, Karen's demeanor shifted. No more smug waves at the mailbox. No more clipboard strolls. But I noticed something new. Her blinds were always open, facing my house. She was watching, waiting. So I gave her something to look at. I moved my workbench by the bay window, opened my laptop, and set my tablet against the glass. The screen displayed a frozen still frame from my doorbell footage Karen trespassing. Staring inside, every time she looked out, she saw herself. A few days later, Leon called. "Ryan," he said carefully. "Karen's filed an official grievance, claiming your window seat is interfering with community aesthetics. The board's scheduling a review next Thursday." "Perfect," I said. "Tell her I'll be there with visual evidence and the county survey." He chuckled. "She won't like that. That's the point." Over the next few days, I polished every piece of documentation footage logs, survey timestamps, the fake letter metadata. By the time Thursday rolled around, my file wasn't just evidence, it was a presentation. I walked into that meeting calm, steady, and more prepared than she'd ever been. What I didn't know was that Karen had one last trick, ready, something bold, public, and disastrously stupid. and by the time she tried it, the entire board would be watching her undo herself. Frame by frame. The HOA boardroom looked more like a church basement than a place where people lost their reputations. Beige walls, fluorescent hum, fold-out tables lined in a neat rectangle. Karen sat at the head, pearls gleaming, clipboard ready like she was presiding over Judgment Day. I walked in with a slim black binder and a calm smile. Leon gave me a quiet nod from the corner. The lawyer, Andrea Cho, sat 2 seats down, laptop open. Karen cleared her throat. Mr. Walker, thank you for joining us. We'll begin by addressing your ongoing noncompliance regarding the window seat. I finished for her, setting my binder down. Yes, I'm familiar. She blinked. Excuse me? I assume you'll be citing Section 4(2.3), exterior modifications. The same clause that specifically exempts interior elements from HOA authority, correct? Her face froze for half a beat, then she tried to recover. You're mistaken. The HOA retains discretionary oversight. Andrea raised a hand. Karen, that clause only applies if the modification alters structural integrity, which Mr. Walker's clearly does not. Karen turned red. Well, we received multiple complaints about the obstruction of view. Andrea interjected again, crisp as paper. From whom, exactly? Karen shuffled through her clipboard, flipping blank pages. I don't have their names here, but several residents mentioned it. Andrea typed something on her laptop. Noted. Mr. Walker, you have the floor. I clicked the small remote in my hand. The monitor behind Karen lit up with footage from my doorbell cam time-stamped. Clear as daylight. Karen and her contractor, measuring inside my property line. The room went silent. The sound of the hammer tapping that stake echoed through the speakers like a gavel. Karen's smile cracked. That's a misinterpretation. He was verifying setback compliance. Without permission, on private property, I asked. Here's the surveyor's report. I slid a printed copy toward Andrea, highlighted, stamped. Signed. Ethan's statement filled the screen next. Boundary encroachment of approximately 6 inches beyond Lot 27's legal line. Andrea looked up. Did you authorize this survey, Ms. Heller? Karen stammered. No, but he's exaggerating. I flipped another page in my binder. There's more. The next image appeared, a fabricated cease and remove letter. Metadata, showing it was created from her personal computer. Andrea leaned back, expression unreadable. Karen, this letter lists an enforcement division that doesn't exist under HOA bylaws. Leon whispered something under his breath, sounded like, oh boy. Karen tried to laugh it off. It was just formal formatting. For presentation purposes. Forgery, Andrea said flatly. That's not formatting. The room felt tighter. The hum of the lights grew louder. Karen's fingers trembled slightly on her clipboard. I pressed one final button. The footage on screen changed to her leaning against my bay window at night, cupping her hands to peer inside. The motion sensor light flared. The collective gasp around the table was almost theatrical. That was for documentation, she snapped, voice cracking. You baited me. I nodded slowly. No, Karen. I recorded you. There's a difference. Andrea closed her laptop. This is sufficient. The board will enter a motion to censure Ms. Holloway, pending further review. Effective immediately, she is suspended from all enforcement duties. Karen's mouth fell open. You can't do that. We just did, Andrea replied. When the meeting adjourned, Karen stormed out first, pearls clinking like warning bells. Leon exhaled deeply. She's been pushing boundaries for years, he said. You finally gave us what we needed to stop her. Evidence, I said simply. Always better than anger. He smiled. You sticking around the HOA? Not a chance. I chuckled. I'll enjoy my window seat in peace. A week later, I got a notice in the mail, not a violation this time, but an apology from the board. They'd voted unanimously to remove Karen as president. Turns out her complaints came from no one. She'd been filing them herself. Her house went up for sale a month later. No surprise there. The listing said, charming Lakeview property. I couldn't help but laugh. I still sit by that same bay window every morning with my coffee. The sun hits the pond, just right now, no clipboard shadows. No pastel cardigans pacing the curb. Every so often, a new neighbor asks about the story. I just smile and say, let's just say, in this neighborhood, you earn your view. If you've ever had to stand your ground against an HOA gone wild, drop your story in the comments. And remember, keep your cameras rolling and your paperwork clean. Because in the end, the truth doesn't just set you free, it sets them packing.